Welcome, everyone, to this week's edition of the Watson Weekend, your weekly dose of e commerce reality. I am one of your hosts, Rick Watson.
I'm his other host half, Jessica Liseski, kicking a Chanel throwback for our wonderful guest that Rick's going to introduce today. So, welcome everybody. It's Friday. We're going to get into it.
Yeah, I'm glad. Did you survive the eclipse, Jess?
I did. I had the worst mom fail moment of now, like I guess 40 years, because there's not going to be another one for then. Henry, my 14-year-old, gets home from school. He's like, "Mom, do you have the eclipse glasses?" Do not have the eclipse glasses. Too late to make the makeshift cereal box thing. Told him to throw on some sunglasses and go like roll the dice, see what happens. No burn retina.
That's
No problem.
yeah, you'll fix it in 40 years.
Yeah.
That'll give you time.
Yeah, exactly. I have a chance to, rebound, I guess.
It's a little better than the fail that I heard that public libraries, some of them were distributing fake glasses.
Oh, that's a good one. Did you also see the glasses recall from the ones that were sold on Amazon? And I love it because the recall comes out day of, hey guys, don't wear these glasses you bought on Amazon and you have no time to go fix it. So, you know, but Amazon doesn't take responsibility. Don't
Fake
worry.
product on Amazon, fake news. I think
Also
this is
not their
fake
also
news.
not their problem. So
Yeah. Look, this is going to be an exciting episode. We have a great guest, which we will talk about in a minute. Headline hangover. We'll talk about eBay, JCPenney, retail media, and AI. The main topics will be around the state of luxury and a deep dive on Abercrombie, which seems to be making a comeback after um, a troubling past. And we have a new segment on the show. Despite all better judgment, we have invited Nick Kaplan, fashionista and friend of the show, back for a new segment we have, Kaplan's Corner.
I can't wait. I cannot wait. And none of us have seen it. So who knows?
Yeah, we don't know what the heck he's going to say, but here's what we do know. He's going to be better dressed than either of us, number one. Point one.
100%. Yes.
Point two is he's going to be reporting from the field. Even though he's in the office, he'll be in the field office. I'm
Yeah,
not sure. We'll have to ask him about it.
we needed to amp up the show with a field reporter. So we're going to see what happens.
Exactly. He's like the original John Oliver before John Oliver became John Oliver.
Yes, exactly. We're cooking up some good stuff here. So what else?
So, in the beginning, let's talk about this day in history, shall we?
I love it. It's one of my favorite set parts.
1911, the first nonstop flight from London to Paris.
Oh,
This
that
was
was
before the
probably
tunnel.
exciting. Yeah. Yeah. And that's probably pretty exciting, right? You get to be the first people on that flight. Wonder what that cost in like real dollars.
Yeah, I'm sure quite a bit. And luckily, Amelia Earhart was not on that plane.
She was not.
1961, the Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin, the first human in space and orbit.
Yes. And this is like what accelerated the whole US, Soviet Union, Russia space war, right?
Yeah, exactly. And if you've seen the series on Apple TV For All Mankind, I was a big fan of that in the first couple of seasons. It kind of tailed off after then. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
for
I'll put it on
sci-fi fans in the audience.
We know we have them.
Exactly. 1999, Bill Clinton cited for contempt of court for intentionally false statements in sexual harassment and lawsuit. This goes back to a day when people could be arrested for false statements.
And also sexual harassment or affairs were things that made you maybe not acceptable for public office. Not so much. It's kind of like it's okay now.
Yeah, it's a free-for-all. It's pretty
There's
much
like
a free-for-all, let's be honest.
there's worse things, but yeah, he did not sleep with that woman.
He did
that was
not,
the phrase.
and he probably shouldn't have said that,
Probably
especially on
not.
national TV.
Yeah. Whoopsies.
Yeah, what he should have done is brag about it.
Playbook winner.
Exactly. Next topic. So we are going to go into our headline hangover, and the first topic in our headline hangover this week is eBay UK playing follow the leader. They are waiving all fees for apparel in the UK. The message on LinkedIn was all about, you could almost hear the violins and birds chirping. It was about sustainability. It was about
Beautiful
helping
thing.
the little person. There was nothing about the fact that a competitor had just dropped their fees a month earlier. What is your take on
Right.
this, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, I never thought that fees is really the issue with eBay's inventory problem or not getting enough fashion into the marketplace.
Hmm.
There's a trust problem, there's an authentication problem, which, yes, we know they're trying to solve. And to your point, yes, there is a follow the leader piece, but like, do you really think this is going to turn around the trajectory of the not only the quality, but the amount of inventory? I'm going to go with a no.
Yeah, I don't know. Turn it around like bright eyes. This is back to the eclipse. I think it's on full
Funny.
circle here.
It is.
What do you have for it next, Jeff?
Well, in the retail vein, because we love retail here. If you had $1 billion in your piggy bank, and your J.C. Penney is your playbook, you invested in revamping 664 stores. Rick, what
It
do you think?
sounds like a risky playbook. You
Yeah.
would tend to think that the first thing you do is fix your core concept before you invest in improving it 664 times over.
Yes, exactly. So, still not clear on really what the playbook is, but I think they're like in the spirit of why wait? We're just going to start throwing some cash out. We're going to reopen our first new store with this renovation plan, and I think the question really is this going to work? Yes, 60 to 70% of their retail sales are rooted in brick and mortar, but there's just so much competitive pressure, right, Rick? I mean, you've got Shein, you've got the whole retail landscape is different from when J.C. Penney originally started. So, is this billion turnaround plan the path to prosperity?
Yeah, I mean, look at this point, JC Penny, are they an off-price site? And is TJ Maxx going to take them over just for the real estate? So, I expect activist investors coming here soon, and that's what we'll see about that. In other news, in the advertising world, adverti- agency execs in the retail media universe are complaining that there are not enough dollars to go around. Essentially, retailers are looking at retail media advertising as a savior of their revenue streams from a
Yes.
profitability point of view. But the fact is that after Amazon, Etsy, Walmart, Instacart, it really falls off a cliff in terms of what brands actually have money to support. And so, as a result, is retail media really going to be the savior, or is it just more of a hope and a dream?
I think it's a hope and a dream if you're not one of those companies, right? Because retail media becomes valuable when there's reach, when there's eyeballs, when there's distribution, and Walmart is getting trying to get more clever with retail media distribution and the value proposition in store. So, I think it's really again rough o'clock if you're a retailer and you're smaller than those companies and you're trying to make hay with a retail media strategy. Not enough. Agree. Not enough to go around.
Yeah, exactly. Not enough to go around. And tell us what's going on with Zalando next.
Oh, well, Zalando, again, in this, we are milking this eclipse thing because, again, it's not going to happen for like 40 plus years. Are they in a turnaround? We don't know. But they got this positive outlook from Citi where they upgraded their stock, shifting from a neutral to a buy. And that got people excited because it's the first time ultimately where we're anticipating Zalando to have a positive GMV story since 2023. This could be the first quarter they're reporting that their GMV has gotten positive. We know they've been shoring up profitability. I think Zalando is also one of those retailers. And for those of you who don't know Zalando, they are one of the more prominent marketplaces especially more like fashion, higher end fashion marketplaces in Germany or in the broader Europe ecosystem, and they're kind of the darling, but they've been on the struggle bus a little bit. So the question is, do we think that this momentum is going to stick? I guess we'll find out May 7th, right, Rick, when the earnings are reported.
Yeah, I'm in the bus here where I don't trust it until I see it. I mean, stock market calls are usually about the stock, and
Right.
retail fundamentals are really about the fundamentals. And so, if you hold a lot of the stock, then it obviously makes you want to upgrade the stock so that other people will buy in and support your position. But with Shein coming into Europe more and more, and sustainability being a question, does Zalando have the staying power and momentum? Their stock certainly hasn't seen it in the last few years, and so I give it a little bit of skepticism.
All right. Yeah. And so for those of you that have Shein on your bingo card, yes, we have mentioned it twice. No, we do not have a Shein story. So there you go.
I
All
love it.
right. Rick, let's bring on Casey because that's really the reason why we're all here today. She is phenomenal, right? You're going to tell us all about her.
Yeah, Casey is a futurist, and she's actually no stranger to the reality of retail. She's a two-time retail technology founder, startup advisor, rethink retail expert, an advocate for women in technology. She's been an operator in both fashion and enterprise supply chain technology, something you don't always see all the time.
No.
And her career is about digital enablement, particularly in the luxury sector. Her startup, Luxlock, focuses on a customer-centric commerce experience platform that merges digital and physical. So I would love to welcome to the show Casey Golden.
Hi, I'm so excited to be on here with you guys. We're usually chatting in a back channel. So thank
Yeah.
you very much for letting me join. Something you may not know is that I'm also an OG Abercrombie. So
Oh, I can't wait.
I really hope that the brand finds its way to something John Abercrombie and Ezra Fitch could maybe be proud of.
Yeah. Well, you're going to help us unpack that story too. And Casey, I did wear my Chanel for you. It's like the one
Oh,
luxury piece I
see, we're
own,
getting all
but you can't see it.
fancy.
And I have my quote here, my headline, the Chanel throwback, because her famous quote was, "Women should be two things, classy and fabulous." And we can't wait to unpack the luxury market with you and what your perspective is on it.
Yeah, I mean, she wouldn't be thrilled about 99.9% of the people wearing her product, but that's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah, it's either that
Yikes.
or it gets burned. So what's happened? Yeah, or it's like, or it's bought fake on Etsy. So there we go. Yeah,
Yeah,
what?
like I think that gets us into the state of luxury. Like, we're going to get to Abercrombie in a second, but I think in terms of luxury, how did you get into the luxury market, Casey? I would love to hear a little bit about your background. What was your passion for it? How did you get to where you are today? And then from there, I think the best next question is, what is the plus and minus of the state of luxury today? Where is it headed? Where has it been? And who are the winners and losers? So let's start at the beginning.
Gosh, the very beginning was a pair of Jabot jeans that my mom wouldn't allow me to have because they were $160 when I was 12 years old.
That's
um,
crazy.
right? So, she got me a pair from Goodwill, crushed all my dreams of excitement that she came home with a pair. I ended up recognizing a denim wash that looked like Jabot, and they were like a pair of Lee jeans, and I asked her to buy them for me, and I went home with the seam ripper and transferred all the tags.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
I love it.
And the next day I wore them to school and I had friends.
Life changed, right?
Life changed. I went from being somebody who is like the new girl that has like no friends, drawing, to wearing a pair of Jabot jeans, and now I'm part of the club and I have friends and I'm accepted. And I learned that everybody just traded their jeans in the locker room. Everybody only had maybe one or two pairs, and if you had a pair to put in the pot, you got to be part of the club. And so I threw mine into the pot, knowing that they were Lee jeans, and I got to wear all their Jabot jeans for the rest of the year.
Winner, winner.
And that was kind of where I learned the power of a brand. I didn't change. Literally, the label on my clothes changed, and it essentially changed the way I experienced like the world. And I thought that that was something that I wanted to change and be a part of. Is labels can make you feel left out, and they can also open up a lot of doors. And I thought that it was very interesting on like the psyche point. So that kind of started everything as far as like being interested in clothing and design. And I was an artist, and I love fashion design, and I thought I'd make my own label until I learned production and decided I never wanted to buy inventory or run production ever. I just
That's
wanted
the
to
tough
work with,
part.
yeah, I just wanted to work with the customer and the brand to make everyone like be happy, right? Love who you are, be happy, be a part of the brand when you feel like you're not a part of anything else. And that's kind of started the journey into changing my entire career, like trajectory and getting into retail. So God, that was like a long time ago. But yeah, I did start at Abercrombie when I was getting my second bachelor's. Obviously, you know, parents wouldn't let me go to fashion design school as a primary major, so had to be a second one.
Nice.
And that's when I learned, like, thank goodness I have a bachelor's in something
A
else.
fallback. You have a fallback plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it was just I got into the personal shopping and loved being in front of the customers and making them happy and feel good about themselves, and just kind of was $1 million seller. Had like a 32% increase in 2007, 2008 during the recession from just putting the customer first and making them feel adored, regardless if they spent money. And I decided, like, this is not what I went to school for. This is I'm running everything off of a little black book and an Excel file. There has to be a better way. This is not scalable. And that kind of started everything. I asked for the retailer if he was going to give his company to his daughter or if I could be a succession plan. He said he was going to give it to his daughter. So I was like, all right, I'm moving to New York. Maybe Ralph Lauren will give me his company and I can be his succession plan. Started working at Ralph and realized, like, oh, we're still working in Excel. Okay. And here's all the problems, which put me into
Exactly.
and supply chain, trying to just get in front of the problem to solve it so that it could have a trickle down effect.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And look, your path to fashion luxury, being in front of the customer directly, making them feel good about themselves. I think it's a good segue into my first question is like, who's doing it right now in the luxury and fashion market and why?
Who's doing it right? I think a lot of the luxury brands are doing it right for their top 10% of customers,
Hmm.
and they always have. They are the masters of their craft. Um, I went towards luxury and was gravitated because they are so good at what they do,
Hmm.
and it is so beautiful.
The style and the feel and everything.
The creation, the art, the style, everybody that works there is incredibly passionate, and the customer really, really, truly matters. It's
Hmm.
just that I found being able to deliver the same level of experience and turn awareness into love wasn't happening for a brand new customer unless they met
Right.
a sales associate at a
And
major
and
cosmopolitan town.
yeah, and you talked about the experience for the 10%. What is it about the experience for the top 10% that they're doing so right that they're not replicating for the other 90%?
Well, it's a lot of it is manual and it's 100% individualized, right?
Mm,
Like nobody's serving Jane as people like Jane.
Right.
That's not good enough for luxury. It is her and her alone. And it is not for people like this person. It is they're part of your life. There's a relationship. There's
mm,
it's enjoyable when you shop and you chit chat, and sometimes your sales associate's like literally the only family member that doesn't forget your birthday, or um a lot of times when something traumatic happens or something celebratory happens, that salesperson is actually your first call, like,
right.
put me back together,
Interesting.
or
Yeah.
I'm ready to celebrate, like, before your
Retail
sister,
therapy.
your best
Yeah.
friend. That retail therapy is something that is so nice and helps you get out of your comfort zones and wear things that are better for you, or experience things that sometimes people don't feel like they deserve it, or everybody's too tall, too skinny. to this, to that. And I think what happens at like top tier luxury is you're absolutely perfect. It's not
As long as you have the cash, right?
exactly. As long as you have the cash, you're absolutely perfect. Let's go grab a tailor and fix this.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
It's
Because
not you.
I think that in most environments, right, that what you're talking about, this relationship with this top 10%, and they know you so well, and they really are there to welcome you and provide this holistic experience. The other 90 not getting that, in most cases, would alienate customers and they'd be turned off by it. But it doesn't in luxury. And is it because we all aspire so much to just attain these brands and so they can
Yeah.
afford to do that? Or do you think that they are missing out on a part of the market because they can't replicate that experience in a
There
meaningful
are
way?
missing a part of that market, right? Like when if you've ever been on the floor, like there's this thing like you never want to keep going to the exhaust the same well,
Yeah.
right? Like you
Yeah.
do need new customers. It's just how do you manage, right? If you're doing $2 million in sales as a one person with a
Mhm.
little black book
Mm-hmm.
and maybe
Mm-hmm.
an Excel spreadsheet or something that's kind of helping you, how do you manage the 900 to 1,500 clients that you're serving right now and that are like your primary plus the other 7,000 that you've touched this year? How do you scale that out so that one salesperson can actually pull
Yeah.
that in? And instead, they're skipping to corporate, missing the brand experience.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just not the same experience. Granted, um, it's a lot of there's a lot of reasons for that. You know, luxury brands spend more money on their customers' experiences. Um, you know, they send you a birthday gift, they send you a Christmas gift. Like
Yeah.
when your kid is, you know, graduating college, they start taking care of your kid. Like these are experiences that kind of transcend generations. And you know, generic software is not really going to do this. This is not email marketing.
Right.
These are a
Right.
lot of triggers. Like you need to know what the dog's name is. You need to know who's everybody's birthday. You need to know the ex-husband's name, the ex-wife's name, the whatever, like where they travel, where their other homes are. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like that's part of all the scheduling. And
And it sounds like you're talking about traditional e-commerce marketing is you're talking about segments and cohorts and people that are lapsed and coming back, but this sounds much
it's
more like personalized is the wrong word because you're talking about one to one,
it's one to
really.
one. How do you individualize a customer's experience? And for me, I don't look at luxury as a dress. I look at these brands as they go to restaurants, hotels, a lot they're shopping online, they have 3 home stores, maybe not
Mm-hmm.
just one. They travel and very often and they're going to visit another store or a restaurant at the other store. And something that, you know, traditional brands like don't have is that Armani owns restaurants. Louis
Right.
Vuitton is opening up restaurants. Ralph Lauren has coffee shops. Like these are all consumer touch points. When you exchange money, we got commerce going, right? So
Right.
it's
Yep.
all retail and it's the country clubs and the golf courses. And how do you spend your time? Are you a yogi or are you like sports? Like luxury
Yeah.
brands really get to know what you love
Yeah.
and you get US Open tickets in the mail. But
Right.
like, how do you scale that to being able to get a $4 coffee when you roll up to Ralph Lauren's coffee truck? Comp it. Stop spending all this money on Facebook ads and just take care of your customers when they're standing in front of you. Like that's my philosophy. Your
Right.
customers standing in front of you. Just
Right.
kind of do what you're doing and take care of them.
And then you have a lot of this stuff. Look, for those who have stores, but then you have the sort of online ones. Like I would love to get your thoughts on Farfetch because you have the situation where so much promise, and then it seems like we're kind of going out with a whimper. So they kind of lost something along the way, and kind of given this sort of one-to-one backdrop that you're talking about, is that part of why Farfetch overextending themselves, or do you feel like they can turn it around? Hi, there we are, Jess.
There we are.
Yeah, no, there's nothing they can do to turn it around. In my opinion, and I hope, right? So in my opinion, they never had it to begin with. My last startup, I was essentially, it was like 2011. I was Farfetch in the back and Stitch Fix in the front, essentially. So I decided I didn't like the business model because all I did was give all of my money every month to Mark Zuckerberg. And I had no money to buy a bottle of wine for a customer that like spent a lot of money with me this year or was brand new. I had no, I'm spending money in the wrong. I just want to spend money on customers. I don't care about anything else.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really where it is because I come from like a very interesting like background. I love the brands. I respect the brands. I love people and I want that connection to be made. And so a lot of these business models, especially in retail, it's like they hate the customers and they hate the brand, their vendors. Right? Like they just kind of enter into it like, we don't like you. I would never charge a brand 30% commission because I've been on the other side. I would never give you 30% commission.
Right.
And so like you just hate them. And so and when you don't take care of your salespeople
and
that are talking to your customers, you must hate them too. Like, why are you not taking care of like the two things that your business is built on? So, I mean, Farfetch made sense. The matches fashion, the Farfetch, the marketplaces, the luxury brands were not ready to go to e-com.
Right.
They were still learning, right?
Yep.
They watch and learn. You know, Chanel has a $10 billion business without selling online.
Yep.
They're not hurting that they're going to miss out on something if they don't go to e-com today. So they're watching, learning, deciding like, does this even fit? Is it against our DNA? Self-service is against luxury's DNA. So you're going to have a room filled with people that are like, no, we do not do self-serve. And like, well, we have to do these things. We do not do marketing and ads. No, we build dreams. And then, you know, so there's this constant clash.
Right. And I'm hearing aspiration. You definitely have to take customers on a one-on-one basis. I'm hearing that how do you construct a mass e-com business model around it? I'm having trouble putting it together in my head. Is there a case for this? So where is the bridge between luxury brands should just stop going online, which clearly shouldn't happen, like because the customer is at least gaining aspiration online, to where should they go next? Like where should they invest their money on a digital sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think that when we look at, I mean, if you look at Farfetch on like their best year, they did like $2 billion in sales, gross profits like half of that, and they spent a third on marketing. Imagine if they spent a third on customer experiences.
Yeah.
They probably wouldn't have high turn and they wouldn't need to go out to get more customers because their customers are there. I think luxury is all about retention. And I think that's the primary is that when you shop with a luxury brand, you don't have like a 4-year, you don't calculate your LTV off of 4 years. These are like 20, 30, 40-year relationships. You don't just wake up in the morning and say, I hate Valentino. Like, it's very rare.
Yeah.
You loved it then, you love it now. And it's just a matter about how much can you get? Can you start with a lipstick when you're in college to being able to buy your first bag or your first pair of shoes? And it really comes down to like, it's a very long customer journey. How are you going to manage that? And I think with digital, it's these luxury brands were like 80, 90% wholesale. It wasn't something that they were taking on. It was Saks' problem. It was Neiman Marcus's problem. They managed that customer relationship. Because there was only very few locations that you could shop in person. If you wanted a Chanel collection, then you need to get on a plane if you don't live in New York or Paris or whatnot, right? You have to get on a plane. And it's a whole experience on you making that purchase. I think some of e-com, it just kind of robs you to just like click and check out. Like, well, It's not very exciting. But I think there's a space for e-com. I just don't think that every product needs to be available online. I think it's more about how do you scale the reach of a sales associate, and how do you know anticipate your customers' needs at scale to start doing more experiences in bulk. Nobody's going to get mad for getting like 2 bouquets of flowers on their birthday on accident. It's like, oops.
Right.
Like, that's fine. Customer's happy. They're not going to do anything, right? So I think it just kind of comes down to, we don't need any more retailers or multi-brand retailers. We have
Unpack that for a second. We don't need any more multi-brand retailers. Do you think that there just isn't space for them in the market anymore because brands are going direct or should go direct, or just that there are enough of them that the market
It's
can't support that
saturated.
anymore?
the market, we have enough. I think the footprint we have today is plenty to run a good business. And the customers have all kind of already touched these companies. They just need to figure out, like, who are you going to be to this customer, and just
Mhm.
go that direction and pick a lane.
Right.
Because it's not like anybody's going to production for like 3 million of, we're not making nobody's making 3 million of these, of each product. There's
Right.
very limited quantity, and most cases the products are sold in pre-sales. And I think that's the big difference with a lot of like mass merchants and luxury is a cut to order business. They're only making a little bit more extra production for their own e-commerce stores that maybe hit like the aspirational customer. All the good stuff's like not available online, and it's
Right.
not sitting in a store. It was a text message 6 months ago.
Mhm. So,
Right.
what do you think about though? There is so much negative PR around luxury brands, either burning materials or because they don't want to flood the market. What's your take on that, and what brands need to think about as it relates to excess inventory, or do luxury brands just literally don't care because they don't want it out in the market?
No, I mean, I think it goes down to regulation.
Yeah.
The export tax, if it's damaged and unsellable,
Yeah.
you're saving like $30 million by burning it or cutting holes in it. There
Hmm.
is no regulation advantage. There is no tax cut for donating it or
Right.
actually taking care of it responsibly. So these are really big numbers just for the how much it costs for a sample line,
Hmm.
and you need 3 sample lines. They're all destroyed because they need to be imported
Yeah.
and as non-sellable goods. And so if there's going to be change, it has to start, in my opinion, with regulation.
Yeah. So what's your take
Um,
on like Poshmark, some of these, the Real, some of the resale sites? Do you feel like they have their place, or are they just as dangerous potentially as Farfetch in a different way?
No, I mean, I don't think like Farfetch was dangerous. I just think like selling, you should be able to buy the product from the brand and experience the brand. And
Hmm.
that brand should be able to get to know their customers, to be able to serve them, make the right collections next season, understand who's buying. But I think the secondary market is very important. And I think that like I'll
It goes
never
back to your old Jabot jeans. You
like
made
we
your
can't.
fake Jabot jeans.
I know, right? I mean, I terrible, right? That was like the moment I decided I was not going to be a doctor. Um, um, but you can't have a secondary market without people buying full price product.
Right.
It
Yeah.
is literally the supply chain to fill up the secondary market.
Right.
Yep.
So I think that those are critical into being able to resell, but I think that the prices are ridiculous. You need to think about like what was last mark? You're selling it for so much more than last mark, and it's not that special. If it was super special, fine, but like dude, it's a t-shirt. Um
Right.
Maybe I don't need to spend $600 on this from the real when you really look at it, and like you do realize it's 18 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's 18
Exactly.
years old and you still want $600 for this? Like, no.
Yeah.
And so I think that they're really important. I think the biggest problem with a lot of these secondary platforms is letting brands that don't really have a second life on them. And that's one of the biggest problems with
Yeah.
a Poshmark is like, I don't want to see any
Right.
Shein. I don't want to
Or
see any
H&M. Yeah.
favorites. I don't want to see
Yeah.
H&M. Like, could you
Yeah.
please remove all that and just let me see things that actually have a second life?
Yeah.
And that's what
Add
Bestiaire
value.
actually did, right? Like Bestiaire is really cracking down in a major way.
Yes. It's just very expensive for a customer to buy something.
Yeah.
It's like a $20 fee on this and $20 fee for this and shipping and handling. And then I have to wait all this time and the pictures are terrible. And so it's just like, yeah, I just save my money and wait.
Yeah.
I'll wait. I'm willing to wait
Yeah.
to shop for these brands to just like, I'll just wait and get a real one. But,
Yeah.
that's the nice thing is like none of these purchases in luxury are really necessarily like necessary.
Yeah. So
Yeah. It's all
Casey,
it's all aspirational.
You
And I
can
think
wait
a
for
lot of
it.
yeah. And I think a lot of these brands, you talked about the 18-year journey of some of these brands. Um, I would love to talk about the journey of Abercrombie because this was a hot, particularly teen, even tween brand, for some, especially if you look at some of the models, which got a little questionable at some point. I know, Jess, you wanted to kick off this segment and um, happy to continue the discussion a little bit more down market of luxury as we head into Abercrombie and Fitch.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I think, Casey, you talked about your Abercrombie era. Rick, I don't know if you did.
I did
You
not
know,
have an Abercrombie era. I was not pretty enough for it.
yeah. Well, I don't know that I was either, but I definitely remember, look, I was from a very small town. We saved up our money to drive to the mall an hour and a half away so that we could go to Abercrombie. You'd get just killed with the smell of the perfume and the cologne in the store. You had these very aloof people that worked there that didn't give a shit if you spent money there or
I,
not.
I have a picture in my mind. I'm forming it.
Yes, yes, I'm painting it for you. And literally you're basically spending at the time, it's like $40 to $50 to your point, Casey, on a white t-shirt just to get the bag that had a barely clothed model. I can't believe my mom let me walk around with it because
$68.
it was like a status symbol. Yeah, you're right. Like it was a status symbol to have that bag and be able to walk around with it. You remember those days, right, Casey?
Oh my God. Like I'm literally sitting here at pictures of my perfectly folded denim wall.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God, that's amazing.
It is
Yes.
literally a perfectly folded denim wall that is like sitting here on my desk.
Yes, yes. And it was the wall of denim because that's what you went in there to buy for. And I just love this story so much because they did have a fall from grace, right? In
Hmm.
2016, the brand was voted America's most hated retailer. And then 2 years ago, Netflix had that documentary White Hot that came out, which was essentially so bad in terms of the history of Abercrombie, the over sexualized imagery, occasionally racist products, and it really they didn't evolve well in the Me Too era, right? And really needed this revamp. And I think Fran Horowitz would probably be a poster child of amazing brand turnarounds because she's essentially led this brand to a company that released its Q4 earnings. It had its fifth consecutive quarterly earnings beat, 35% sales growth in the fourth quarter of 2023, where we know most brands were not, especially in retail, we're not talking about or posting those numbers, had the highest operating margin in 15 years since for FY23. And from a liquidity perspective, cash and equivalents moved from 901 million to 518 million. From 518 million in 2022 to 901 million in 2023. So I think it's pretty amazing what Abercrombie has done. And we know turnarounds are hard. And so we thought we could unpack it a little bit. And Casey, with your help, talk about some of the things that they did. And I'll just give you some highlights.
I think we just have to kind of go back to actually the start where there was a pond at the on the roof of the building of Abercrombie and Fitch in New York store where you could go and test your fishing pole because it was stocked with
That's
fish.
right.
And the fishing pole had like gold filigree and it's like the most expensive fishing pole, the most expensive tents. Like they were the first people to make outdoor pants for women. Like
Yes.
it was a luxury brand.
It was. It was and a luxury outdoor
It was
retailer.
a luxury outdoors brand. And but at the same time, like my experience as a sixth grader of like not having the friends and being a new girl and being able to have a different day-to-day experience at school was because of that label.
Yeah.
And the hottest thing in junior high and high school was Abercrombie and Fitch at that time. And I related it with it so much.
It's like the
Yeah.
Lulu of today.
It was just
Basically.
like being a kid is hard. And school is just so mean. I love these younger kids. They seem so much nicer than my experience. I'm like, TikTok would never have survived when I was at this age. But as somebody who was like in it and like a store manager, and I was at all the football games in the high schools and colleges recruiting talent and everything like that. I loved my store and I didn't know the bad things, right?
Yeah.
I loved the fact that it was the only store in a mall that had a scent. It was a distinctive experience as soon as you crossed the threshold. It was darker. It had a
It was
smell.
dark.
It had
You
the
can't
music.
see in there.
I know, right?
No.
It was a completely different experience walking across that threshold. And I
Right.
love the fact that they created that brand experience where all the bags are sprayed down with Fierce so that your room at home smells. And as soon as the smell goes away from your bag, it's like, I have to go back.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
And it is amazing. And I think it's super interesting with the shift and what they've done where they had a lot of different problems, right? They had the brand equity problem. They had this overlap with Hollister where it was essentially the same products being sold, maybe a couple different colors because they had the same merchandising team to, now they've revamped and closed a bunch of stores, replacing them with smaller ones. Rick, I know you love a good supply chain story too. Casey, as do you. The inventory improved by like 30%. They've been able to reduce and improve their supply chain. They've basically gone through a holistic rebrand, which God love them because a lot of brands don't have the appetite for that or the stones to carry it through. And they've evolved their whole merchandising strategy around this notion of we're going to be there for the customer for 96 hours. Our customer lives for the long weekend, and they plan around what those weekend activities are. And it might be going to a workout class, or it might be going to a girls' weekend, or it might be going to a wedding. But it's all revolved around this customer. And you talk, Casey, so much about how luxury brands know their customer so well. And I heard their head of merchandising, Corey Robinson, talk about that, where they're like their denim designer studied YouTube videos of women trying on jeans and talking about the waist gap. And they realized that they could solve that problem in a new way. And their Curve Love jeans now make up like half of the denim sales. So what do you what's your take on that? Like it's a lot, I think,
looks good. I mean, it looks good. Like that place has always been a very tight ship. I mean, the way that they manage to have teenagers run stores.
Yeah.
I don't think they get the appreciation for how tight of a ship. Every single middle drawer has a stapler on the right. Every single hour, these pages print out from a printer. Like it is legit a tight ship from what I remember.
Yeah.
But they've done a great job as far as like I walked by a store on Fifth Avenue last month, and I walked by and I was like, whoa, you guys look like really good. Yeah. And I walked in there and I was just like, okay, love the color palette, love the variety. I'm like, I kind of want like a lot of stuff right now. I still Abercrombie. I never really stopped. I'm probably way too old to be wearing it, but it's still a big staple in my wardrobe. I just bought a vintage Rule hoodie from eBay. If you remember, like the Rule,
I love it.
Yeah,
launch a while.
You're eBay's last shopper, Casey.
I know, right? So I think it looks really good. there is a gap for certain age group.
Yep.
I think one thing that nobody really understood is that Abercrombie and Fitch was always like it's kids clothes.
Yeah.
You know, it was kids clothes, Hollister was
Yep.
kids
Yeah,
clothes,
Yep.
Annie was
Yep.
kids clothes.
Yep.
makes
Maybe we don't
sense.
need so many adults in Abercrombie and Fitch, but right now it's pretty much like it's good.
Yeah.
It's good
That's
enough
awesome.
to bridge
Well,
the age gap there. So
And
I'm
and
pretty
speak
hopeful.
yeah, no, it's great. I mean, and speaking of good, I know you have some uh a quick slide to kind of wrap us up on the Abercrombie side,
yeah.
how that turnaround has manifested themselves on the stock side. I just want to stay up. I'm a big techie, so I have to talk about technology again. I was like reviewing Abercrombie's tech stock, and I know Casey is a big Frankenstack person. Speaking of Frankenstacks, we're talking about HCL, the old WebSphere, still on Abercrombie's site, Adobe Experience Manager. None of this hot new stuff, yet they were still able to turn around. Why?
Yep.
They got smart about their inventory, they got smart about their brand and their customer experience. So I'd love for you to walk through that a little, Jess.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that's what's pretty telling, right? Is they really listen to their customer, and whether it's their head of supply chain, their head of merchandising, their head of brand, they're constantly talking about we're listening to our customer, reacting. Back in 2019, when they talked about their transformation initiatives, they're like, we are going to position our supply chain for speed, agility, flexibility. We're leveraging data analytics to offer the right product at the right price at the right time. These are pretty basic retail fundamentals, and yet they're working well for Abercrombie. So I think what this really is a testament is, look, you don't need NFTs, you don't need Bitcoin, you don't need some of these like flashy things. You just need to really operationalize and master the basics and the fundamentals of retail, and give give your customer what they're looking for. So look, this has turned out really well. We're going to flash this slide because we talk about the Magnificent Seven. We hear, in the stock market all about Nvidia. And is it really Abercrombie or Nvidia that's
There
like
we go.
playing the stock game here? I mean, this is like talking about a 300% increase, in just in 2023. And so I think it's pretty impressive. And there's like a question, I think, from an analyst perspective, from industry pundits. Are we industry pundits? I don't know, but will they have the staying power? So, Casey, I'm curious. Like, do you think that Abercrombie's got what it takes to go like the next 5 years and achieve this plan of what they call by 2025 they're going to achieve like $5 billion in revenue and 10% operating margin? Will they get there?
I mean, I think we have to decide like what's going to happen to the malls. As far as like locations, they could have what it takes, but I can't really bet on a lot of brands right now because I feel like there's not a really strong identity. They're still bridging.
Yep.
Is that Alo or is it Abercrombie leggings? Like I literally can't tell. They're the same color this season.
Yep.
So I think we just kind of I'd watch and see. I don't know how many brands can be doing $5 billion in sales sustainably
Yeah.
Right. Hard to
unless
keep up the momentum.
unless you're charging like, $6,000 for an item.
True. Hey, maybe they're going to go up market. They're going into wedding. I mean,
Yeah.
they're not $5,000 dresses, but looks like they are looking at some
Yeah.
premiumization
I
options
kind of look
anyway.
at I'd kind of model it around J. Crew. Why
Yeah.
is J. Crew not where we think it necessarily should be right now?
Yep. Yeah.
Maybe it's just Abercrombie's time, but
It'll be interesting to watch. Ricky, any final words on Abercrombie?
Yeah, I mean, look, we have a slide on then and now, and so I'd love to show that a little bit. Like the messaging has changed from that's not me on the left. You could see my foot on the right, maybe. That's
Yeah.
so we're turning it around, and I think we're going to use that to wrap our segment. Really love the fact that that Casey was able to come on and break down the state of luxury as well as get into a brand point of view from Abercrombie. So thank you again, Casey, for sharing your wisdom. Please
thank you for
stick
joining.
around. We're going to have a dance party. And so we're going to
Don't
have
leave
you
us.
right back. And with that, I would love to bring on our brother from another mother, Nick Kaplan, aka Lazarus. He is back in the club with us. This is part of a new segment that we're going to have on the show called Kaplan's Corner. And with that, I would love to bring him onto the setup.
Hello,
Hello.
hello.
I mean, there's so much material for me to work with here. Gerbo jeans, I wore them as a kid. So my first job was at Saks. I've really enjoyed listening to this, and it's a fantastic time to be back with you guys. I cannot believe that you were crazy enough to seat me in front of a mic on the show again, but thank you. So when I was hosting for Rick, my true brother from another mother who's close to me in proximity at the moment and spirit, I thought there needs to be a view for the people, like the agencies, the consumers, the little guys that you pundits just kind of talk a bit about.
Are we pundits still?
I don't know.
I think you're getting there. So so as a person of the people, you've given me this opportunity to periodically drop in. I think I will sometimes actually try to be in the field.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
Spice it up a bit.
Not on the subway, though. That's dangerous.
I mean, I'm a native New Yorker. I don't know. It's by the subway at this point could be as safe as anywhere based on what's happening here. Although if my wife has her way, we will no longer be New Yorkers soon. But I do think that, today, and based on a lot of what you guys talked about, I chose to kind of come in and chat a little bit innovation, right? Because in thinking about kind of Clayton Christensen, the innovator's dilemma, and in a moment in time where I think a lot of C-suites are getting some credit for innovating, I don't think that we as a kind of commerce-facing industry do innovate well, but oftentimes out of desperation take credit for it. And as we sit in this Darwinian moment, I think that my focus today is sort of talking about, innovation. And so innovate or die, that's sort of my mic drop moment, right? I think that we sometimes don't think ahead, and to talk about Abercrombie, which I'm betting against them being a $5 billion company, because they don't have the brand equity of a Chanel. And I did get your Chanel reference to who she was as a person, Casey, which I think a lot of people don't appreciate. But I always love the Chanel ad on the back of Women's Wear Daily. It says who she was and what it was, but don't ever use our logo for anything or impersonate us. But what a lot of those designer brands do is they have this ability to take that brand equity and really make their money in other categories, not apparel. It's accessories and other things, beauty. And so as I look at how we think ahead as an industry and the digital product that we think about and the opportunities that we try to take advantage of, we often don't. I think that we are an industry that's steeped in, that's the way we've always done it. Why risk my job if I don't need to? I don't want to be the first one. If you come back to me and tell me, hey, this person has done it, I would then be willing to risk my job. And so I think that we really need to look ahead and say, we talked about this once, Rick. I think when you were out, Jess and I were talking about, I don't remember what, so many great conversations.
So many.
But we were talking about, you don't want to raise capital when you have to raise capital.
Right.
It's very expensive. You want to raise capital when you don't. And I think that we get very bifurcated in our organizations. We are very territorial. We think that we can tell the customer what they want versus listening to the customer to hear what they need and want. Right. And as a result, our hubris leads us to a place of, well, why would I already, who has a tight operating margin, why would I actually take profit away and have to speak to my board or speak to the public markets and say, you know what, we're actually going to forgo our dividend. We are actually going to invest in infrastructure. We're going to invest in people. We're going to invest in data. And as a result, we may be taking one step back, but we'll survive. We might even thrive and live to fight another day. So today, in my first Kaplan's Corner, I will say to the group, hopefully it's large and getting larger, that we have to pause. We have to think through how we're making our investments, and we have to invest in our future, invest in our ability to be thoughtful and accept the fact that we need to innovate and foster cultures of innovation to be able to fail fast, learn, evolve, and most importantly, survive. And that is Kaplan's Corner, episode 1.
I like it.
Thank
So
you.
great.
This is amazing. Thank you for coming on the show. We'd look to have you back on a regular basis, sharing your wisdom. One point I took away is don't raise money when you need it. Raise money when you don't need it.
Get your rainy day fund in check and listen to your customer is another big theme of what we have. Guess what? The people who buy your stuff are the people who matter. All right.
It's time to dance.
Here we go, Casey. Show
No,
us your moves.
yeah. I'm not really standing up for this, people.